Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Sufi Bedoslan, student ID 2020-489144, and in today's video I'll be showing a program revolving around array list and linked list. Alright, so this is basically my program. It consists of three clauses, namely food, linked list, and main food. So I'm going to start by showing my food class. So there are a few methods in here, and there are three data that I declared, which is food code, food number, and food num and food price. So first let's have a look at the first method, which is the default constructor. So this is basically me just declaring the data to its initial data. So next is normal constructor. So this allows for me to assign the data from the user to the data in this class. And then I got setter method as well as getter method. Setter method is basically to just set the three data, which is food code, food num, and food price. And for the getter method, is basically to return the data, which is food code, food num, and food price. And last but not least, in this class is the toString method. The purpose of this method is basically to just display or print the data, which is the food code, the food num, and food price. Alright, so now let's proceed with the second class, which is the linked list. Alright, so there are three classes in total in this class. So let's start with the first one, which is the linked list. And there are four attributes that I've declared in this class, which is the first one for the first data, last one for the last data, as well as the current. And then there's also listing, the data type string, which is going to be used in the empty list exception class. So of course, in this class there's the default method and the normal method, and then there's the public integer size. So the purpose of this method is to return the elements in the list, is to return the size to the linked list. And then we got the public boolean is empty. So this method is basically to check if the linked list is empty. So if the first node is null, so the boolean will be true, thus the linked list is empty. Next, there's a public void insert at front as well as public void insert at back method. Both of them is to add new object data to the front and to the back respectively. Alright, next there's removing. There are three in total. They are removing the first element, removing the last element, and removing the specified element. Alright, so basically removing the first element is to remove the first data of the list, and remove last element is for the last data, as well for the remove a specified element is basically to remove a very specific data that the user is going to enter. Alright, so for the next method, there are three returning methods. First of all is to return the first element, and then the next one is to return the next element, and last but not least to return the specified element. And last but not least in this class is the print method. So the purpose of this method is to basically print the objects of the linked list. Alright, so now let's have a look at the next class, which is list node. So I've declared two attributes in this, which is data and next. So in this class, this is the normal constructors, and this is the method to get the data, and this is the method to get the next node. Last but not least, there's the empty list exception class. So the purpose of this class is to basically display this message whenever the system recognizes that the linked list is empty. Alright, so now let's have a look at the last class, which is the main food class. Alright, so this is basically my main class. So first of all, what I did is I imported java.util.asterisk as well as import java.util.arraylist, since I want to use the standard input the standard input codings as well as the array list. And then what I did is basically I declared an array list, budget list, as well as linked list, premium list, because this bakery has two product lines, which is the budget side as well as the premium side. So yeah, as you can see here, this is basically the interface, and there's as you can see here, this is basically a button to help the user on what button to be pressed in order to jump to the next interface. So this is basically what the user need to press in order to proceed. So if I press A, the system will bring the user to the add item to the budget list interface. B for delete item from budget list, and then C to add item to the premium list, D to delete the item from the premium list, E to search for the item, F to display all the item, and last but not least, G to copy data from array list to linked list. And then I declared int resume equals to 1. which is basically, it's going to be like a loop. So I'll show you what I meant by that. So since I initialize the resume attribute to 1, so since the while loops condition is resume equals to 1, so the user will be prompted into this lines of code directly. So first of all, the program will ask the user to enter an operation code, which is just what I explained earlier, which is these buttons A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which implies to these functions. And so it is a attribute. So when the user entered an alphabet, for example, if the user entered A, the system will bring the user to the if operation equals to a body. So in the operation equals to a body, it is the purpose is basically to add item to the budget list. So what happens here is that the system will ask the user to enter the number of food products. So the value will be assigned to the fnum attribute. So next, the system will get into the for body, which in this case, the value entered by the user in the fnum attribute will be used in this condition, where the for body will look as how many times the user entered in the fnum attribute. So in this for body, the user will be prompted to enter the value for the product code, the quantity, and the price. And then these three data, which is the pro code, quantity, and price, will be brought into the food class. And then I basically just add the data in the budget list array list. And then this will be prompted. This message will be prompted to the user, which is continue the operation. 1 for yes, 2 for no. So if the user entered 1, which the value will be assigned to resume. So thus, this whole program will be looped back to this, and it will basically start all over again. But if the user press 2, so this program will stop, and yeah, that's it. Alright, so now what if the user entered B in the operation? So what happens for B, the purpose is to delete item from the budget list. So what happens here is that there will be a message prompted to the user to enter the index number of budget food product to be deleted. So the user needs to enter the index number, and then the remove method is being used to the remove method is being used to delete the index, and then a message will be displayed here, which is this product has been removed from budget food product list. And then just like earlier, this message will be prompted to the user whether the user wants to continue the operation or no. So if 1, the program will be looped once again, and 2, the program will stop once and for all. And then for the next operation, which is C, just like earlier, it is add item, but in this case, it is not for the budget list, it is for the premium list. But it basically just works kind of the same. The system will ask the user to enter the number of the product into the fnum attribute, and the fnum attribute value will give to the for body, so that the for body will loop based on the value of the fnum, and then in that for body, the user will be asked to enter the pro code, the quantity, and the price, and the data will be brought into the food class. And in order to insert it into the linked list, premium list.insert add back premium. So this command basically inserted the data into the linked list. And just like earlier, this prompt will be asked again to the user in order to continue or not. And then for the next operation, which is operation D, the purpose is to delete item from premium list. So just like earlier, delete item from the budget list, but this time it is for the premium list. But it works basically the same. The user needs to enter the index number, and then premium list remove add index, and then this message will be displayed, which is this product has been removed from premium food product list, and then the user will be prompted by this message again to whether to continue the operation. 1 for yes, 2 for no. And then if 1, the program will be looped once again, and 2, the program will stop. Alright, so now let's proceed to the next operation, which is operation E. If the user entered the E button, the system will bring the user to the search for item purposes. So what I did first of all is I declared attribute found with the data type boolean and initialize it to false. And then the system will ask the user to enter type of list to be searched from, whether it is from the budget list or it is from the premium list. If the user entered B, in this case, it is going to be a budget list. Thus, the system will ask the user to enter the food product code to be searched, and then the system will get into the for body, and then the data will be retrieved by the system with the specified index method, and then the data will be assigned to the object class, and then will be costed to the food class. And then what happens next is that this is when it gets interesting. The data will start to compare. The data from the class will start to compare with the data that the user inserted. So if it is identical, the attribute found will be changed to true value, which first of all I initialize it to false. So if it is identical, attribute found will be changed to true, and then log will equals to I. So the purpose of log here is that because I want to display the value of the index later on, so which is why it is needed for me to the purpose of this is basically to save the value of I, so that it will not overlap. Alright, so next, this is for the other option, which is the premium list. So it basically works just the same. The user will be asked to enter the food product code to be searched, and then the data will be retrieved, and then will be assigned to the object class, and then will be costed to the food class. And then the data will be compared. The data from the class will be compared to the data that the user entered, and then the attribute found will be changed to true if the data is identical, and log will be the value of the index value will be saved in the attribute log. And then if the product code entered by the user is invalid, this message will be displayed instead, which is which is a wrong code had been entered. Alright, so next, the system will get into the if body, where the condition is if found equals to true, which this is after the data is being compared. The data from the class is being compared to the data that the user inserted. If the data is identical, the found will be equals to true. So if found equals to true, the details of the food product will be displayed, as well as this message, which is the food product code is in the list at index number log. So this is the purpose of why I assign log. I assign the index number to the attribute log, so that it is easier for me to display the index number. Else, if the food product code is not in the list, this message will be displayed instead, which is the food product code is not in the list. And just like earlier, the system will prompt the user to continue the operation or not. Alright, so now let's proceed to the next operation, which is operation F. So if the user entered F, the system will bring the user to the display purposes. So as you can see here, what I did is I declared sum as well as the average and the lowest and the highest, because in this body I need to find the sum, the average, and I need to find the lowest as well as the highest value. So the system will get into the for body, where the for body will look at how many times as the size of the budget list, and then the system will get the data from the get specified index, and then will be assigned to the object, and then will be costed to the food class. And then the system will find the sum for the array list, which is sum b equals to sum b plus food price times food num. And then sum num b, this is basically the total sum in order for me to calculate average later on. Alright, so now let's get into the if body. So this is basically to find the lowest value from the array list. So as you can see here, this condition is basically the data comparing to each other, where the lowest p, I initialize it to 99999, which is basically a random big value. So the system will compare with the lowest p, and thus finding the lowest value. And then the system will find the highest value, which in this case it works basically the same with the lowest. It's just that there are two differences, which is the value of the initial highest p, which is instead of 9999 is 0, and the symbol of the operation in the condition of the if body. So next, after finding that, so the system will calculate the average with the formula average b equals to sum b divided by sum num b, and then the system will start to display the data for the budget list, which is the array list. as you can see here, which is budget food product details, and it will display literally everything: the sum, the average, the lowest price, and the highest price. Alright, so now the system will proceed to calculate the sum, the average, and finding the lowest value as well as the highest value for the premium list, which is the linked list. So yeah, so basically it kind of just works the same, just like the budget list. Yeah, it is basically identical. The concept is basically the same. So yeah, so the system will calculate the sum, calculate total sum, finding the lowest value and highest value, and then calculating the average of the premium list, and display the data for the linked list details, which is basically the premium food product details. And then yet again, the system will ask the user to continue the operation, 1 for yes and 2 for no. Alright, so last but not least, let's proceed to the last operation, which is operation G. So if the user entered the G button, the system will bring the user to the copy data from array list to linked list function. So what the system will do is, first of all, it will get to a for body, which will look as how many times as the size of the budget list, and then the system will retrieve the data from the get specified index method, and then will be assigned to the object, and then will be costed to the food class. And then the data will be inserted to the back of the premium list, which acts as the linked list. So that is basically how the data is being copied from array list to linked list. And then after that, a message will be displayed, which is data from array list has been copied into linked list. Else, if the wrong code is being entered by the user earlier, this message will be printed instead, which is a wrong code was entered. Alright, so now I'm going to show the demonstration of the program. So let's run the program. Alright, so this is basically the main menu for Uncle Sufi's package management system. So this is the operation code ABCDEFG, and the system will prompt the user to enter the operation code. So now I'm going to show the demonstration for A, which is to add item to the budget list. A, enter number of product 3, product code, let's do A and quantity 1, price 10 ringgit, and B, 22 ringgit, as well as C for quantity 3 and 20 ringgit. Alright, so now the system asks the user whether to continue or not, so I'm going to press 1, which is yes, and I'm going to demonstrate C, which is to add item to the premium list. So let's C, enter number of food product, let's do 3, food product code, AA, quantity 100, so since this is the premium ones, it's a little bit on the expensive side, so 2 ringgit, and CC 3 ringgit. Alright, so now let's continue the operation 1, yes. So since I've already added for both of the lists, which is budget list and premium list, let's see whether the data is already successfully inserted by pressing the F operation code, which is to display all item. F. So as you can see here, this is all the data, and it's already been successfully inserted, as well as the sum, average, lowest price, and the highest price as well. So now let's continue the operation. Let's proceed with the delete item, which is B. Enter index number of budget food product to delete. So I entered 3 products earlier, so let's delete the second index. Alright, so the message has displayed here, this product has been removed from budget food product list. So let's see whether the data is being removed or not. So let's continue and press F to display. So let's look at the budget list. Alright, as you can see here, there's only 2 of the product code here. Since I've already removed the second index product, so thus there's only 2 here, so which means it's successfully deleted from the budget list. Right, so let's jump to the next, which is to search. Let's press E. So let's continue first the operation and press E to search. Right, so now enter type of list to be searched, whether B for budget and P for premium. So let's do P this one. Enter food product code to be searched. Let's do BB. So as you can see here, so this is the details for food product code BB, and the food quantity that I've entered earlier is 2, and the total price is 200. And the food product code is in the list at index number 1. Alright, so let's continue the operation by pressing 1. Last but not least, let's show the last purpose, which is G, operation code, to copy the data from array list to linked list. G. Alright, data from array list has been copied into linked list. So let's see whether it's successfully copied. Let's continue and press F. So as you can see here, there are no data. I'm sorry. The data from the budget list is being inserted to the premium list, with premium list being the linked list and budget list being the array list. So as you can see, the program is a working program. So since the user wants to continue with the operation, let's press Q to exit the program. So that is basically the program. So I guess that is all from me. My name is Mohammed Safi, student ID 2020 489 144. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.